You don't have to walk out the door to leave. You don't have to burn bridges to disappear. You don't even have to say a word. Sometimes, the most powerful exit is internal. You're still in the same room, still replying, still present. But something's different. You don't react. You don't explain. You don't reach for their comfort or adjust to their emotions. You're no longer plugged in. They speak, and you don't feel the need to correct. They guilt, and it doesn't land. They provoke, and your silence is not passive. It's a shield, because you've already left. Not physically, but energetically, emotionally, psychologically. They can't see it yet, but they feel it. The grip loosening, the power shifting, the emotional hooks falling flat. And the best part, you don't owe them a dramatic exit. This isn't rebellion, it's removal, not to hurt them, but to reclaim you. This is the inner exit, and once you take it, you become untouchable. Let's begin. Exit the system without making a sound. Part 1. The Trap. Most people think leaving means distance. New city, new house, new boundaries. But you can move across the world and still be caught, because the real trap is not external, it's internal. You're not stuck because they control your environment. You're stuck because they still control your emotional reflex. They raise their voice, and you shrink. They guilt you, and you explain. They withdraw, and you chase. They disapprove. And suddenly, you're 5 years old again, begging to be seen. You haven't left, because part of you still needs something from them. Their approval, their validation, their softness, their love, that you never fully received, but still keep performing for. And they know it. Not consciously, maybe, but energetically. They feel the tether, the emotional access, the unspoken agreement. If I press the right button, you'll come back into character. And you do, over and over, until one day, you realize it's not their behavior that keeps you stuck. It's your response. They don't have to change. They don't even have to understand. Because the real freedom doesn't begin when they let go. It begins when you stop reaching. That's the trap. Not physical chains, but invisible leashes, made of guilt, obligation, and the unconscious hope. That this time they'll finally become what you needed them to be. They won't. And that realization isn't sad, it's liberating. Because now, you stop waiting. You stop seeking, you start exiting from the inside out. Part 2. The Inner Exit. Leaving doesn't require a suitcase. It doesn't need a confrontation. It doesn't come with an announcement. The inner exit is silent, invisible, complete. It begins the moment you realize you don't need to fight the system to escape it. You just need to stop feeding it. Every reaction is fuel. Every explanation is a lifeline. Every attempt to be understood keeps the dynamic alive. They don't need to control you directly. All they need is your emotional engagement, your attention, your defensiveness, your guilt. But when that's gone, so is their power. The inner exit happens in 3 shifts. 1. You stop explaining. You don't argue with false narratives. You don't defend your decisions. You don't play the "but I didn't mean it like that" game. You simply let the misunderstanding exist without correcting it, because truth doesn't beg to be accepted. 2. You stop performing. You're no longer the peacekeeper. You don't overfunction to make things smooth. You don't show up as the ideal version of yourself just to avoid discomfort. You show up real, flat, unpolished, without apology. 3. You stop seeking. You no longer reach for closeness that costs your clarity. You no longer chase connection that demands self-erasure. You don't try to make them see you, because you've seen yourself, and that's enough. This isn't coldness, it's closure. You're not cutting them out. You're cutting your response out of the pattern, and that's how they lose access. Not through distance, but through detachment. Quiet, total, irreversible. That's the inner exit. No door slammed, no scene made, just silence. And a version of you they can no longer reach. Part 3. The strategy. The inner exit isn't an idea, it's a method. And like every method, it requires tactics. You don't just disappear, you deactivate. Slowly, quietly, intentionally. Here are 4 psychological tactics to execute the inner exit without ever saying you're leaving. 1. Emotional grey out. Strip the color out of your reactions. Don't light up when they praise you. Don't collapse when they criticize. Don't mirror their chaos, anger, or guilt. You become neutral, flat, not passive, but unhooked. When emotion leaves the conversation, control dies with it. 2. Energetic detachment. Your body can be in the room. Your soul doesn't have to be. You nod. You smile slightly. You answer simply, but you're no longer available for emotional labor. No fixing, no managing their mood, no holding space for dysfunction. You're present, but unavailable. 3. Frame shifting. They will try to drag you into old scripts. The guilty child, the selfish one, the dramatic one. Don't play. When they provoke, don't clarify. When they shame, don't justify. When they expect, don't deliver. Stay in your new frame, silent, solid, unshakable. You don't argue your way out of a role. You outgrow it. 4. Invisible boundaries. You don't need to say, I have boundaries now. You just live them. Don't answer every call. Don't respond instantly. Don't attend every gathering. Don't explain why. Let your absence speak. Let your inconsistency interrupt the pattern. Let them feel the shift without giving them a map. You're no longer a participant. You're now a ghost in the system, seen but not accessible. This is psychological withdrawal at its most precise. No drama, no threats, no declarations. Just a slow, irreversible shift in energy. Until one day, they look at you and realize they no longer know how to reach you, because you're still there, but you're already gone. Part 4. The power of unavailability. They were never addicted to you. They were addicted to your reaction, your defense, your explanations, your guilt, your emotional energy. That's what kept them in control. As long as they could provoke a response, they had a hook, a handle, access. And now, that access is gone. You don't flinch when they criticize. You don't overextend when they withhold. You don't rush to repair what they intentionally fracture. You've become unavailable, and they feel it, not through your words, but through the absence of signal. Silence where there used to be over-explaining. Stillness where there used to be nervous laughter. Boundaries where there used to be performance. And suddenly, they're destabilized. They poke, nothing. They provoke, silence. They escalate, no reaction. It doesn't make them reflect. It makes them panic. Because now the equation is broken. I press this button and you behave. Not anymore. You've broken the script. not by rewriting it, but by refusing to act in it. And that's what makes you powerful, not louder, not tougher, just absent, where they used to feed. They can't control what they can't reach. They can't manipulate what doesn't respond. They can't guilt what doesn't need their affection anymore. And that's the real revenge. Not rage, not rejection, but non-access. You're no longer their mirror, no longer their container, no longer their emotional supply. You've exited without leaving, and now they're the ones, trapped in the silence. Part 5. The freedom. You didn't move. You didn't shout. You didn't slam the door, but you're gone, and they can feel it, even if they can't explain it. You're sitting across the table, but you're not there. Your eyes are calm. Your answers are minimal. Your energy is clean, detached, firm, unreadable. There is no more emotional leverage, no more guilt to weaponize, no more got you moments in conversation, no more hooks. You're not avoiding them. You're just not playing them. And that is what makes you untouchable. Because when someone can no longer predict your emotional reflexes, they lose control over your reality. You've exited the system, but not with noise, with stillness, not with rebellion, with silence. And here's the paradox. They will try harder than ever to pull you back. Not because they miss you, but because they miss controlling how you feel. They will test, they will escalate, they will bait you, but you've already left. Not physically, not socially, energetically. And once you leave from the inside, there's no way back in. Because true freedom is not walking away. It's no longer being available for the role they cast you in. You can still show up. But you no longer bend. You can still speak. But you no longer explain. You can still care. But you no longer perform. You're present, but sovereign, seen, but unreadable, connected, but unreachable. That's not distance. That's dominance. Part 6. Conclusion. Exit the system. Stay unreachable. You don't need to cut ties. You don't need to explain. You don't need to justify your distance. Because once you leave internally, they can sit right beside you and still have no access to your guilt, no access to your self-doubt, no access to the old version of you that used to flinch, chase, or explain. That version is gone. You didn't destroy it. You outgrew it. You silenced it. You withdrew your energy from the game and let the game collapse without you. This is the highest form of power. Not confrontation, not escape, but non-reactivity. They can't trap what doesn't engage. They can't bait what doesn't bite. They can't own what's no longer seeking to be seen. And that's how you win. Without fighting, without noise, without leaving. You're still there, but you're no longer in it. Exit the system. Leave the role. Stay unreachable. CTA. For the next 72 hours, speak less, react less, observe more. When they test you, don't flinch. When they guilt you, don't explain. When they expect you to perform, stay still. That's how you exit, not with force, but with complete energetic silence.